This is the opening scene of Halo Reach, an ominous, bizarre piece of scenery that evokes dread that for a first-time player is going to confuse. Yet, it's extremely engaging. During my first playthrough of Reach, even I was confused. Video games don't usually open up with the aftermath of what's happened during the first cutscene. The only notable one I can think of is Call of Duty Black Ops 1, which sold that feature perfectly. Sure, it happens a lot within movies, yet I've never actually played a game that shows the consequences right off the bat. It can definitely deter people, especially if they played any of the Halo games before Reach, focused on the aspect of fighting with extremely hyped music within their cutscenes. The reason why this scene is just so engaging to me is because of the fact that this is actually a Spartan helmet that we're seeing. Besides the books and comics that are somewhat outside of the Halo games universe, we've only seen the Master Chief, who has accomplished impressive feats and has never fallen. So it gives the perception to us that Spartans can actually perish. The destroyed planet of Reach in the background with this lonely, damaged helmet gives us a futile tone of the game right off the bat. And I love it. It's not afraid to tell you that this game is going to take itself very seriously. Okay, so let's rewind back a month prior. We're introduced to the newest member of the Noble team, who is known as Noble 6. The fact that this Spartan can be your very own custom character for multiplayer just makes it all the more better, as you can truly connect with who you're playing. For the sake of continuity, and the fact that my personal preference for Noble 6 is the default skin, I'm going to be playing Noble 6 in his default set of armor and colors. Here, you're met with Noble 1, Carter, who is the leader of the squad, briefing the team on the objective and prioritizing others rather than himself. Noble 2 is Kat. She's the more stubborn and level-headed person in the group, but excellent at hacking, knowing the most about technology in the group. Noble 3 is June, the tactician, best with his sniper rifle. Noble 4 is Emil, who has the coolest looking Spartan armor to date. He's the aggressive and bold Spartan that wields a shotgun, fitting to his personality. Noble 5 is George, a heavy weapons specialist and probably the largest Spartan I've ever seen. The dude is a complete tank and wields a slick minigun. In contrast to his huge figure, he's a gentle giant who shows his humane aspect the most out of the team. And finally, we have our guy, Noble 6, who is new to the team. So yeah, we have a very diverse squad, with each character having a specific purpose within the team. I'd say that the first 3 missions of Halo Reach are pretty much the most Halo you're going to get out of this game, as the game does a complete shift within its narrative after that. Over time, you slowly lose hope for the survival of the planet, but I'll get into that in a second. The first mission has us investigate a distress beacon from a downed relay outpost. The first assumption from the team was that it was caused by the rebels of the planet. However, you soon find out that it's the Covenant who have landed on Reach. You see the weight of their actions. Civilians as well as soldiers completely slaughtered from the invasion. The elites truly do look like a major threat here, as just 3 higher ups with energy swords had completely overwhelmed our team. The mission concludes with the commander being informed of the attack on Reach. This essentially sets up that the Covenant is the main threat of the game.
Colonel, this is Noble 1. There are no rebels. The Covenant are on Reach. Acknowledge?
Come again, Noble 1. Did you say Covenant?
Affirmative. It's the winter contingency.
May God help us all.
The second chapter of the game, the Oni sword base, has us clearing out the invasion on the base from the Covenant, taking out their massive artillery guns that are firing onto the planet. It's also here that I started to appreciate the amazing scales of these fights. Some of the backgrounds are jaw-dropping from here on out and had me stopping at times just to, appreciate them. Now form your opinions as you will, but I seriously don't like Dr. Halsey in this game. She comes off as egotistical and stubborn, completely disregarding the Noble team's drive to save those within a soon-to-be doomed planet, rather than focusing on the mission. The third level has us infiltrating Covenant grounds, but the big takeaway is the fact that there is an entire strike force that has set their foot upon Reach. To me, I feel as if these 3 levels set up the perception of false hope. You, as the Noble team, are tasked to protect those spaces and successfully do so. It's somewhat setting the heroes of our story up for failure. As a blind playthrough, the player would expect this to be Noble team's massive moment on how they save Reach from destruction, like how the Master Chief saved Earth. From here on out, Halo Reach dives into the true spoils of war and the desperate struggle of the survival of Reach. The tip of the spear is the first proper view of the all-out war between the UNSC and the Covenant. The storyboard for this scene is phenomenal and captures the desperate and dire need to save Reach from the invasion. The mission itself is extremely fun too, as you're taking out multiple Covenant guns and there's even a fun chopper sequence. Although you do manage to take down the Spire, which was the overall objective of this mission, morbid reality sets in, as the Spire's use was to cloak a massive Covenant cruiser, which is instantly revealed once the Spire is down and takes out the Grafton. I was completely taken back after seeing this for the first time. I was led to believe that these things were indestructible and the UNSC's trump card for fighting such huge ships. So to see one of these things explode by a bigger carrier was just mad. This scene also touches up on a theme that will be recurring throughout the rest of the game, on how your achievements are just a mere blip within the grand scheme of things, which is the constant feeling of what I get whilst playing Halo Reach. You hardly ever get a moment to celebrate your achievements within this game, and when you do, it's completely overshadowed by something greater. The long night of Solace is just a day after the events that occurred within the previous mission. The mission already has a gloomy and inevitable setting of slowly losing. Our heroes decide that the best way to take out this massive cruiser that is towering over Reach is to use a slip space drive as a makeshift bomb. With that, we take the fight to space with George. This sequence was honestly so cool and felt very accomplishing. We fight off numerous Covenant ships and even manage to hijack a Corvette in the process. Unfortunately, the detonation controls of the improvised bomb are damaged in the process, leaving George with no choice but to stay behind with the bomb and activate it himself, giving you his farewell before sending you hurtling down into the orbit of Reach.
Tell him to make it count.
Just watching the Corvette crash into this massive cruiser, truly an honourable sacrifice. However, moments after this, an entire fleet shows up, diminishing the value of George's sacrifice. I absolutely adore the sudden plot twist here. It further shows the impending doom of Reach. It was sad to see George go, as he had put his trust into Halsey and fought as an honourable Spartan. As stated prior, he was the only Spartan who showed his humanity to civilians and empathised with them.
Big man forgets what he is sometimes.
She just lost her father.
It gives off the strong message that he's a human too and suffers just like everybody else would. It's also here that I began to love the UNSC camera perspectives within these cutscenes, as we're given a more objective look at what's happening within the world around us, not only through the eyes of Noble 6 and his team. And I bet that if you splice all of these angles back to back, it gives a more haunting reality of the doom of Reach, further enhancing the idea of futility and the loss of hope. The title of this chapter is also amazing. Long Night of Solace. Solace is the action of comfort or consolation in a time of distress or sadness. In context to Halo Reach, we're going through a struggle in space that, in the end, will bring us relief. But obviously that wasn't the case, as things just didn't go to plan, and the fact that it was really all for nothing. Exodus starts amazingly. This is your first proper mission where you're completely split from your team. Once again, these amazingly well done camera angles are shown at the beginning of the mission, with Noble 6 taking a pistol from a fallen comrade. The Covenant are in full swing on Earth, terrorizing the civilians and brutally killing them. It is here where the brutes are also introduced into the game, and their savagery and vicious methods of killing the civilians are also displayed in front of you. This level is yet another reminder that Reach is completely doomed, and even the evacuation ships are being shot down in front of you as you traverse from here.
Oh my god.
Mayday! Mayday!
P6 Echo 2, can you maintain altitude?
Negative! We're going down!
Son of a bitch. I can't watch this.
Fox Actual, should we send search and rescue birds?
Negative, dispatch. No point.
We meet with Kat and notify her of George's death, and this transitions into the best level in Halo Reach. This chapter takes place just moments after Exodus. I wanted to start off by saying that this level absolutely blew my mind. The skybox is morbid and shows the damning effects of a Covenant invasion in full swing. Buildings are destroyed, the ground is practically unrecognizable, and fights are happening all around you. You're thrown into the middle of hell, and that's further emphasized by the Covenant cruisers that appear after each objective. They appear just far from you, glassing portions of the map from a distance. Their presence is so menacing and chilling, even when they're stationary, watching over you as you helplessly fight off the smaller targets in the air. It's clear to us now that the planet is far from saving, a lost cause. You also get to experience the interior of most of these buildings, but what stood out to me was this nightclub that we enter, with bodies scattered around it, completely overrun by Covenant forces. It got me thinking of what life would have been without the horror that Reach has experienced. It's just another grim reminder of the horrors of war, as we're witnessing it up close and personal. Once again, saving New Alexandria is completely futile, as the Covenant begins their glassing phase, destroying everything in sight. As we're escaping, we encounter the second death of a Noble team member, which is Kat, further expressing the weight of the war and the horrors of it. The death was so unexpected and shocking. My theory here is the fact that the glassing was so insane up close that it completely disabled the shields of our heroes, which made everybody vulnerable. That, or the fact that we're sacrificing our armor shields to run much faster. Either way, the death of Kat brings an undeniable feeling of sadness and further ups the stakes of this desperate struggle of the war. Her death is also a complete contrast to George's, in a sense, that her life was taken from her within a blink of an eye. She never chose a noble sacrifice like George. The hand she was dealt was unfair and shows the grim reality of war on a battlefield. The score here is also fitting as well, a punch in the face and a reminder that anybody can be taken from you at any moment. This sad reality is further enhanced by the fact that help arrives a shameful 48 hours after the glassing, so the team had to be patiently waiting in this cave without any food or water for that time, with Kat's lifeless body, just to be saved from this horrific city. The package has us sent back to Sword Base to destroy it. Going back to this level gave me a sense of nostalgia, but I was terrified at the same time. The skybox is now a muddy red in contrast to the bright blue setting in the daylight. You see just how impactful the invasion on Reach has become, as the set pieces from afar are completely unrecognizable to what they were before. It's taken by the Covenant and practically turned into their base of operations. Before destroying the base, we're given an insane plot twist over the fact that Halsey had created an intelligent AI, which we all know to be Cortana. This gives us a clear explanation that Halo Reach is a prequel to the first game in the franchise. The importance of Cortana throughout the series is pivotal to humanity's uprising against the Covenant, so it's vital that the Noble team evacuate the package out of Reach, or else humanity is doomed. With that, Carter, Emil and Noble 6 set off in a Pelican, with June escorting Halsey out of Reach. The Pillar of Autumn is yet another amazing level within Halo Reach. It starts directly where we left off, with Carter piloting the Pelican. Unfortunately, multiple stray bullets have injured him, and he advises us to set on foot to deliver the package. The urgency in this level is absolutely incredible. You and Emil have to hastily make it to the evacuation point, avoiding Covenant forces and even a scarab in your way. The set pieces in the background are just absolutely hopeless at this point, with the entire ground completely glassed as the forces are eradicating the few survivors left on the planet. The identity of Reach is completely unrecognizable at this point, covered within death and destruction. Encountering the scarab once more, it seems that there's no hope left for us. There's no way we can tackle this huge thing head on. Unfortunately, Carter circles around to us and recognizes the situation, giving us his farewell before directly crashing into the scarab.
Noble, you've got a
Muzzle.
situation.
We can get past this, sir.
No, you can't. Not without help.
Commander, you don't have the firepower.
I've got the map.
Solid copy. Hit them on, boys.
You're on your own, Noble. Carter out.
Crevice to the east. Let's go.
With that, the leader of the Noble team meets his demise, allowing us to progress. Our last objective is a standoff between the Covenant and the remaining forces on the platform, with Emil using an artillery gun behind us to take out the remaining airborne Covenant vehicles to clear the landing pad. Unfortunately, he meets his end with an elite zealot that pierces his back with an energy sword, and he goes out like an absolute badass, staying true to his personality until the end.
Who's next? I'm ready! How about you?
Which only leaves you as the remaining Spartan on the battlefield. Reaching the gun he was at to clear the pad, we now deliver the package to Captain Keyes, who is on the Pillar of Autumn, completing our objective. We're given a chance to board onto the carrier as well. However, after the horrors Noble 6 has experienced as a Spartan and the multiple comrades he's lost, we decide to stay on Reach and protect the Pillar of Autumn so it can escape. The carrier leaves as we're the only Spartan on Reach, accepting our fate. I cannot begin to describe the emotions that Lone Wolf had me feeling. The opening scene has us looking over the devastation that Reach has succumbed to as the Banshees fly over and a phantom catches our presence. It's at this point where we've decided our fate as a hero who strive to save this planet, and that is perfectly expressed from the last transcript that the game gives us. There will be another time. Reading this gave me chills, and also indicates to the player that after everything we've been through, we've accepted our defeat by the hands of the Covenant. Survival is completely out of the picture, and we're doomed on this planet. Yet, it doesn't stop us from going out fighting. Waves upon waves of endless Covenant forces surround us, but we keep on fighting, expressing our hatred for the Covenant. We fight and fight and fight. No matter how much damage we take, we keep pushing, giving it our all towards this demonic species that is so hell-bent on eliminating our life. This is what we're made for. our purpose. The amount of anger and despise we have for the Covenant is on full throttle, and even as we continue being pushed down and hurt, our adrenaline and will to survive keeps us going before we eventually meet our demise. This is the exact imagery shown during the opening of the game, and we have now come full circle. Survival was always futile. Our bravery, courage and resilience fell at the hands of the Covenant. Now we're just a piece of history on the planet, and there was nobody to tell the story. However, the same shot is shown again, but this time life is flourishing around us. The grassy plain and blue skies shows that Reach was saved in the end, as Halsey explains that the forces were pushed back and life began anew. We passed on the torch as the UNSC had discovered the Halo ring. Because of our desperate struggle, Reach can rebuild. And that is the story of the war on Reach. The game had us lose our hope the more it went on, deeming our constant efforts and achievements to be completely futile in the long run. However, as time went on, our efforts were actually put to good use. We just never got to see them. What makes the story of the Noble team so depressing is the fact that they died knowing that what they did was for the good of the survival of Reach. In the case of our character, he realized that everything was hopeless in the grand scheme of things, and our efforts were just a mere blip within the timeline. It shows the grim reality of war and how it changes you. This is seen in the end, where Noble 6 decides that his ending should conclude in Reach as he goes out fighting. He died knowing that this planet was doomed and never got to see the aftermath and happy ending that Reach endured after what seemed to be endless suffering. So yeah, it was a depressing outcome for our main character. The entire game is just fighting a losing battle, knowing very well that the demise of everything around you was inevitable, yet you just kept on fighting. I also wanted to bring up the fact that there wasn't a single instance where I felt as if the Noble team were winning this war. Sure, they accomplished their objectives, but the cost of sacrifice was far greater. Their actions never really won them anything, and the fact that these are all Spartans who died out shows that they're not all as powerful as we're conditioned to think within the original trilogy with the Master Chief. As the planet is slowly dying, so is everyone around us, including ourselves. There was also an interesting take on Reddit that I saw regarding the irony of Noble Team's deaths by the user Emerald Official. George, the Heavy, goes out with a bomb. Albeit it's a death that could have happened to anyone, it's especially interesting that it's with him. Bungie was able to surround that death with a cliche, sacrifice myself for the cause, and I believe it was captured well. Kat, the smart one, got shot in the head. Although there's many ways this can be interpreted, it's the fact that she was always a step ahead of everyone else, but she died in the most unexpected way. It made for a good composition. With June, the sniper, he disappears and is never heard of again. The main goal of a sniper is to eliminate the target and vanish, just like he did. Emil, who wears the CQC armor, gets put down by an energy sword, which is essentially just a melee attack. Carter, the leader of the team, goes down with his ship. Although it's not his ship, it's a good metaphor. So after reading his initial take on it, I started to think more of Noble's death, and it's more interesting the more I think about it. So if you did stick around until the end, I want to thank you for watching. Do consider subscribing if you'd like me to cover more themes of video games. Halo Reach is a game that I've been wanting to cover for the longest of time, and I'm happy that I got to share my take on it. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
out.